Yeah.
But I mean, that's what happens in sport. It's like the more
sport jiu-jitsu now is horrifying. Like Jay was trying to, I don't even know why he was doing this the other day. He was watching some IBJJF match, I think trying to figure out like what the hell are the rules even these days. And it was crazy. I was appalled. Like it was like two people, double guard pull, scooting around on their asses. Like it was like
it's embarrassing.
So depressing.
Yeah, it's embarrassing.
You know, it's one of those things where if you develop an eye for it, you can get into it. You know what I mean? Like, oh wow, look how he plays that.
I get it. I mean, I get it, but it's just there's nothing like if that's what you're into, that's cool. Like there's Tai Chi competitions and there's fucking ballet and all that shit's neat. Like there's nothing wrong with ballet. It's just, you know what I mean? Like that Foot Fist Way movie where the girl's like, I like yoga. And he's like, tell me how that's working out for you in a gang rape situation or whatever. It's like...
Yeah, it's not like the Pokemon thing where I'm saying like anybody who actually does it is like a horrible human being.
Yeah.
But it's just so far from what I knew jiu-jitsu to be when I started that it's hard to wrap my brain around like that's what people are pursuing now. Like,
well, that's
why I love the Icon. You know what I mean? Or I'm sure there are other tournaments like it, but... You know, a submission only, like round robin, where you have all those matches and you don't have the stalling. And
I think we're entering into a different like social climate too. You know, there's so much technology now, even for self-defense technology. You know, everybody's like, well, I'm really good at shooting a fucking gun, and I got this knife here, and they're like, why would you're never gonna see me, you know, play my guard. You know what I mean? On the street or something like that.
I mean, I agree.
And so it's like you now have this argument of, sport jiu-jitsu is not going to do anything on the street. But then you get a lot of people that say, well, I hate to tell you, but everybody's shooting each other now. So
yeah, but I mean, that's just
I know it's a cop-out. It's a cop-out, but at the same time...
Inside 16 feet, wrestling is the major facet in all weapons-related events.
Yeah.
It's just
control the body.
It is the deciding factor. Like when cops get shot inside 5 feet, it's in a wrestling match with a gun. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like outside That's 16 true. Feet, yeah, you're talking about shooting from position or whatever. But like, dude, inside 16 feet, it's a fucking wrestling match. You know? And that's just anybody that, I mean, like inside 16 feet, statistics show you're wrestling for the weapon. Whether you get cut or shot, you're wrestling for it while it happens. Yeah. And fucking the statistics say that handgun deaths, most of the handgun fatalities are done within 5 to whatever, like 3 to 7 feet, something like that. Like a 5 foot average. So that means 90-something% of the time you're in a wrestling match over a gun. Yep. So like you talking shit about shooting somebody, you better fucking know how to wrestle. Yeah. You know what I mean? Or else you're just...
Plus, that's not even to mention the fact that for women... the majority of what's happening is still getting grabbed and dragged into the friggin' bushes. You know what I mean?
Or, I mean, the majority of what happens when women are dealing with defensive tactics, the majority of what happens is you're fine with a bit of make-out kissy-kissy, but then you're like, all right, I think I'm done for the night. And they're like, no, you're not. You know what I mean? You're already in the fucking guard. You're already in half guard. You know what I mean? Like, you're already engaged physically, and they just suddenly don't respect boundaries, and now you're like, fuck.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Something crazy.
Too far is no longer an option.
1 in 5, or something like that, women have experienced sexual assault, and like the highest percentage of that is somebody that they knew that they were consensually involved with, that they removed consent, and it didn't stop. That's fucking jiu-jitsu. What are you going to get your purse, get your gun out your purse? You know what I mean? Like, get your mace out. You're in your fucking underwear. Like, how are you going to get your mace out?
I still feel like there's this deniability going out there that a smaller female can't choke out an athletic, larger male, and it's just bullshit.
It's annoying,
and I don't understand why people still go. They still go, oh yeah, and it's
no,
just
they think you're full of shit. But I mean, that's the problem. The problem is it takes it takes training. Mm-hmm. You know,
it takes a lot of training.
It takes a lot of training because the problem is. A girl that a fucking white belt that's trained for 6 months hard is not going to choke out. Is not going to choke out a fucking 215-pound football player dude.
Yep.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Now
she may delay it.
Fucking blue belt.
Yep.
A blue belt.
Get to the back.
Well, that's
a blue
the thing.
Belt will choke that bitch out.
Beau was just about to say that's the part that everyone forgets. It's like they automatically put that scenario into like almost a sport thing where you're saying a girl could beat up a guy, but they're forgetting so many factors. Like, yeah, maybe she doesn't get the choke in, but maybe she prolongs the encounter long enough that the guy gets freaked out and leaves, or help comes. I mean, there's many different scenarios that come into play, even with the minimal amount of self-defense training, and that's the part that everybody likes to forget about.
Anything.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. It's like first, if you're willing to put up a fight,
that alone could get somebody to be like, "Screw this! I'm going on to somebody easier."
Like when somebody, like even the encounter, like the fucking
Target
date rape type of thing, right? Like that's not taking into account the testing that occurs. You know what I mean? There's a little bit of like, you know, no, I don't want you to, and they're, come on, baby, let's do it. No, I don't want you to, and the girl that's like, oh, it's whiny, serious. No, stop, seriously, but whiny about it and doesn't really actually go, motherfucker, stop.
Yeah.
But a girl that's like willing to try to choke you will go, dude, fucking stop, and sound serious. And the guy's like, yeah, I mean, I'll just get another one tomorrow night. Like, I'm not going to do this. Like, they're not looking for a challenge. They're looking for a conquest. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So it's like,
and even
like
they're
she's
just looking for that submission too.
Or even so, it's even so. Like, even if they go fuck that and they jump, it's like becoming difficult.
Well, that's the thing. Like, to
fuck is going to be.
Yeah, it's like I could be attacked and killed. I could be attacked and raped. But I'm telling you right now, the person's going to have to be willing to kill me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they're going to have to be willing and able to kill me before somebody else comes.
Yeah.
And it's just, there are so many other easier options. Not that I want it to happen to somebody else, but you know, I don't want it to happen to me.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, you
so
don't have to be
like,
the toughest person in the world. You just can't be the weakest.
Yep.
But it's like, that's the thing. It's like, I mean, the putting up of a fight thing. It's like, if you feel like she said, delay it. If you think about it, man, it would be really hard. I mean, it would be very, like, this is going to get really, like, specific, but, like, when you watch movies and, like, the guy will do the thing where he holds the girl's hands over her head with one hand.
Yeah.
And she's, like, kicking and fighting, but the dude's, like, holding.
Yeah.
I mean, in my head, I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, fucking seriously?
Yeah.
Do you know how difficult it would be to
with one arm,
No, physically, to try to physically rape her? Do you know how fucking difficult that would be?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, I don't even know how.
I think
you could. She'd have to be unconscious.
I think it comes down to, like what you said, it's a mental game, and if you at least have a game plan to say, you know what, I like what Mandy said. I don't know what the outcome's going to be, but I can tell you right now, I'm not going to stop moving. I'm not going to stop fighting. You know what I mean? I have a game plan. I'm going to stick to something. A lot of people shut down.
I think it comes down back to that thing of.
But I think that's where the training comes in.
Yeah,
is the shutdown part, is the fight or flight. Because if you haven't trained and you haven't trained hard, and it's why I'm so adamant about people competing. I could give a shit about competition.
Yeah.
But I want women, especially, like, I want them to compete. I have this friend that trains down. She's a white belt, third stripe or something like that, and I want her to compete, and I'm at her to compete in the Icon, and the only reason is because it's the closest you're going to come to somebody literally trying to hurt you.
Yeah,
like, it's the closest you can come to a real life self-defense encounter, closest you're going to come to an actual fight or flight response that you have a chance to practice that skill.
Yeah.
Like, so I'm so adamant about it, especially for certain populations, because that's the only way you get to train that fight or flight, through competition, through sport fighting, through whatever. You know, I don't think you can, even just through straight training. I mean, maybe you could, but
no, you can't really. But you can't really, and that's the thing that we talk about all the time. It used to be at one point, sport was, the goal was jiu-jitsu, and the competition was a way to train your jiu-jitsu, like you're saying. But then it turned into competition being the goal, and then you're training just for the competition. And then your jiu-jitsu,
like, that's the only thing that gives me a clue about, like I'm not just saying that, like, oh, they'd have to kill me. I believe that 100%, but it's because of the experiences I've had where my body is in full flight mode. You know what I mean? Fight or flight mode.
Like I said, I mean, I watched you, like, it was your fight with Shayna Baszler. And it was supposed to be, this was back in the day when shit was all fucked up and unregulated. It was supposed to be two rounds. There was no scheduled overtime, right? There was just 2 rounds. That was the contract, was 2 rounds. And at the time, main events were 3 and undercard were 2.
Yeah.
And she fucking kneed you in the face and you were bleeding. Your face was fucked. She was bleeding
horrible.
all over, just like in the plum, and just like 20. Like watch the video. It's like 20 something unanswered knees to the face.
Yeah,
just blah blah blah
Haskell
blah
show
blah,
notes.
blah blah. You know what I mean? It was bad. She got smashed on in that round, right? And she came back to the corner, and the fight was over. And I thought she had won the first round, and Shayna won the second round. I was like, fuck, it's going to come down to a decision. She came back, mouthpiece out, she's done. And
I was so tired.
It's really hard to understand this if you haven't experienced it. And a lot of people now in fighting
crossing the finish
don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because back in the day, shit like this would happen on a pretty regular basis, but now it never occurs. But there's a really weird thing when you're like, I'm done. And you're starting to untape your gloves.
No, you're not.
And the guy walks up and goes, they're going to an overtime.
Like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, they're going to an overtime. And I went, well, fuck, because before that, she'd either won or lost fast.
And overtime meant whoever won that round won, because that meant it was tied.
Whoever won that round won, but it's also like you're physically done. Like she got her ass beat the second round. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And it's like, all right, here you go. Let's see what you got. Like, how tough are you? Like, how willing to go back out there and scratch again are you? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, there's a lot. Most of the people would be like, and maybe they go back out because they don't want to quit, but they just don't try.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And she went out and fought and won. Who cares about the winning? She went out and fought is the important part, And that was cool. But that's the thing that lets you know.
And that's not a real life attack, but it's the closest you're going to get to ever testing that part of yourself. And that's where that kind of like self knowledge can come from.
Listen, this is gonna be really hard because it's gonna sound a lot like victim blaming, and I'm not trying to do that. But the truth is, if someone is still conscious, it is very difficult. This is not a personal experience thing. It would be very difficult to get your penis inside somebody if they were still struggling. At some point, they got to go, I'm just going to stop trying to fight. They have to at some point. At some point.
Yeah. Having never been
mean?
in that situation, I see your point.
I mean, I've had a lot of sex and I've been in a lot of fights, and I can imagine, I can hypothesize between the two things. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I think it's hard to underestimate the
and I'm not
that freeze or like, but that's my point about the training. That's my point about training is that it is so hard to underestimate that response. And when it's happening to you, if you haven't trained those responses at all, when it's actually happening to you, you literally, it is out of your control.
But that's what, and so I don't want to make it sound like I'm victim blaming because what I'm saying is I'm not saying and it's your fault, whatever. I've had that happen to me. Yeah. Like I've been in fights where my brain went, "You're done, bro. You can't keep fighting." And I just
took a beating.
I just took a beating.
Yeah.
Like I mean, I wasn't.
You didn't tap.
I didn't tap, and I didn't like give up. But I stopped.
It was like a freeze response.
Yeah, I stopped trying to fight.
Yeah.
Like I just stopped. I literally took it. If the dude had been fucking me instead of punching me, he would have fucked me. Like I just stopped fighting.
Yeah.
Like I didn't quit, but I just went, well, nothing can be done. I'm just going to take what's happening.
That's a tiny bit of a bad example only because your issues with sport performance are so exacerbated compared to like how you respond in a sport setting is drastically different than how you respond in real life.
Yeah.
So it's
I know.
Your example is a tiny bit.
But I just mean that I can sympathize with the idea. Like I don't think you're a weak. I don't think you're a piece of shit. I don't want to make it sound like I'm victim blaming and going anybody that's been raped like at some point accepted it, because I understand your brain can go, nothing can be done about this.
Yeah. And there are some situations where the physical mismatch, no matter how hard the girl's fighting, I think there are some physical mismatches where even if she's fighting as hard as she could, are just too much. You know what I mean? Or
it's just, I mean, and again, I'm not saying
it's not
in
hard,
a bad way.
It's not hard for a girl to be fighting and the guy to be a pretty big guy and to give her such concussive trauma.
But that
she's like,
but that's different.
Yeah.
Like that's like, and what I'm saying is, if she's at full capacity, like if you break your arm and you're holding your arm and you're in physical mental shock. Somebody could do whatever they want to you. If somebody hits you and you are so concussed you don't know which way it's fucking up, of course there's nothing you can do about it. I'm just saying, I think to your point, I think that in a lot of situations where that happens, I don't think they've been injured to the point of incapacity. I think this overwhelming attack occurs and their brain goes,
Right,
and
because
shuts off.
they have no experience
Yes.
with being in that scenario before, which is the amazing thing about training.
Yes.
You actually get to practice that skill of that automatic response of being like held down, can't move, can't get out, can't breathe.
This quote's going through my head, and I watched that video that Crystal made.
Yep.
Post after her first competition, and she said something. She said, and it almost took it a little bit personally. She said, "You know, I've never felt pressure like that before. Come on, guys.
Yeah.
Why don't
what
you?
the fuck?
What
Yeah.
the fuck?
Yeah.
And at first, I took it very personally, but then I remember thinking, well, if we put pressure like that on most people, they leave.
So here's
They
the
don't
deal,
stick
and this
around.
is the thing that you got to understand about Crystal's video, right? And she's about to start feeling a lot of pressure in here.
She asked for it.
Well, not
She's
even
ready
not
now.
even in that way. What I'm saying is, you have to imagine that this place is acclimating people to being able to withstand pressure.
Yeah.
Like she's saying, like the value of training is that you learn how to keep your shit together under pressure. The problem is with any pressure application, like any pressure acclimation, like if you're going to get used to a sauna, if you're going to get
Diminishing
used
returns,
to, dude, if you walk in the door and my job is to turn you into a power lifter that can squat 700 pounds, and if I put 685 on it, tell you to do 5, you're going to break your fucking hips. Yeah. So it's like she did that tournament. She did that tournament after 13 lessons, 11 lessons.
And that fight was
like 11 lessons,
right,
not weeks, lessons.
And that's not even how many circuit trainings.
And
so how many live training sessions?
So probably,
and that was against a seasoned professional MMA fighter.
Probably half a fucking, like half a dozen times that she's rolled. You know what I mean? Maybe a dozen, maybe a dozen. But my point is that when she's in here training, she is a brand new, just out of the on-ramp, white belt, small female. And guys are going to apply pressure that they're certain she can handle. Now, the thing is, they're mistaken.
Yeah.
Obviously, psychologically, that girl can handle a shit ton more than she's been given. But the point is, you can't take it back.
Right.
You overpressure somebody, you come in, you're like, welcome to jiu-jitsu, bitch, and you smash her face all bloody and make her tap because she can't breathe, and she goes in the bathroom and cries because she had a fucking panic attack.
She's not coming back.
And then in 2 years, she's the same as she was before.
Yep.
But if I can bring her along slowly and teach her how to learn how to accept that pressure and deal with it and deal with it and deal with it, in 3 years, I've got a fucking Mandy on my hands. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. So like somebody like Mandy, she comes in and you beat her ass stupid, she leaves.
Well, I got my ass beat pretty much right off the bat. But.
You got your ass beat, but like there could have been an amount of pressure that would have made you go. Not from the pressure, I doubt it. Like your game is fucked, so it wouldn't have been the pressure. It would have been I don't think these people like me here. I need to find another gym. You know what I mean? Yeah. And like before you were heart and soul into jiu-jitsu 3 months in, you might have gone, I think this sucks. Like, I don't think these guys are dicks.
Right.
And then you'd have been like, I'm going to go find another gym. And maybe on the way to another gym, you found fucking some other sport and fell in love with it because you weren't heart and soul into it for a while, you know?
Yeah.
But I think, like, you run the risk.
Well, it's hard. It's one of those things. Hindsight. It's one of those hindsight things, and it's very hard. You know, in her position, it's difficult for her to look back on and understand how she would have felt if she got the type of pressure she's talking about.
Yeah.
You know, 3 classes in.
Yeah.
It's hard for her in hindsight to understand how she would have felt about that, whereas we know how she would have felt about it. So now she knows enough. Now she's seen the difference, so she can come in and say, look, you know, I want that. I want to experience that.
Yeah.
You know, and then we can appropriately, you know, her training partners can up the pressure, but she doesn't quite know how that would have felt.
Sure.
You know, day 5.
And
whereas we're
that's
like,
tough. She's also there's also a bit of a misjudgment because it's like even the dudes that brawl as hard as they fucking can to a nearly disrespectful level in the gym, competition still feels like 25% higher than that.
Oh yeah.
Like there's nothing you can do. Like that's you know what I mean. Like competition feels 25% harder than the hardest possible training you can generate
because of
with
that
bad
same thing that
feelings in the
Mandy
gym.
was saying. It's the closest thing you get,
Yeah.
even though it's like shake hands.
No. It's fucking on.
it's the closest
it's on.
you're going to get.
It means more.
And the thing is, so like I told her, I was like, listen, understand that even if you go to your absolute capacity and your partner is literally trying to kill you, it's still going to feel 25% less than a competition. And what's happening is these people are going.
Because they also won't. Like in a competition, so the person will break your arm. Like you're just hoping that maybe they're nice enough that they won't. But a lot of them will. In the gym,
I've done it and I broke somebody's arm in a competition.
They're not going to go that extra, you know, that extra little bit.